Good evening, everyone. Once again, a very warm welcome to online learning portal of Ravi Pathak Academy. Now, the today's topic, we are going to take up important topic from the perspective of current affairs. Plus, it is also a part of core area also, which is popularly known as delimitation. So, most of you have heard about the term delimitation, right? When we talk about this particular topic, why it is important? So, it is important from all the three perspective of our exam. That is the significance of this topic from the prelims perspective. Plus, it has also been important from mains perspective, and obviously there may be a probability that there may be one or two questions in interview also. Why so? Because when we talk about delimitation, obviously, you know, here first of all we are going to understand what you mean by the delimitation. That is, we are going to focus upon introduction part in which we are going to learn about meaning and definition of the term delimitation. Second, we'll look into evolutionary perspective or the historical perspective so that we can understand this topic from the root, because our objective is nothing but to cover this topic from all the three perspectives. It was in news. It is going to be news, and future also it is going to be important because next year there are so many changes which are going to take place because of delimitations, right? So the evolutionary perspective will understand. Then we'll also understand the objective or goal of delimitation. Then we'll understand what are the constitutional provisions, as far as delimitation is concerned. Then, after understanding the constitutional provisions, we'll see some ongoing issues related with the delimitation, and especially, more importantly, we can say the challenges and the issues which we are facing or which are associated with delimitation. Then, if we know the challenges and issues, obviously we have to provide some solutions or suggestions because UPSC may expect us to give some solution suggestions or what we call way forward, how to tackle these situations, right? And what are the probable options? There may be some bit of criticism also associated with us. So, what are the criticism and how we can write the appraisals for those criticisms related with delimitation? Then there are some controversies also related with the delimitation. So, what are those controversies, especially with respect to the southern states, right? So, what are those controversies? That part also we are going to cover. Then at last, we are going to see some of the MCQs, multiple choice questions for practice purpose. We are going to take some mains question also, you know, from analytical perspective. Plus, we'll be sharing a notes or the PDF also of the complete topic through our Telegram channel, right? So, if you follow us on YouTube, do get the description in the link box, and there you'll be able to find the link for our Telegram channel also, where you can download the PDF of this particular topic. So, all the more important, and this pre-mains and interview, the whole coverage of this particular issue in this video we are going to take up so that it would be very easy for a beginner also. The person who does not know anything about delimitation, they will also understand it, and the students who have already read this particular topic, for them it could be a good discussion as far as revision and content enrichment of this particular topic is concerned. So, without wasting the time, let's start discussing the topic. Now, when we talk about the delimitation part, right, the first and foremost thing is what we understand when we use the word delimitation, right? So, obviously, we are aware about the word limitation, and now we have to understand delimitation. So, first we'll go with the constitutional meaning or constitutional definition, which is provided for the delimitation. Basically, the literal definition says that it is an exercise which is conducted, right, for what? For limiting, right, or for restricting, you know, what? The boundaries, right, of what? Of a particular territory. So, for what? For the adjustment of the seats purpose. So, we'll see how these adjustments are done, what we mean by the constituency and all those things. So, for some sort of adjustment, if there is a redrawing of this particular, you know, boundary, then that exercise would be known as delimitation, right? So why it is there and what is the significance of it? Let's try to understand. Now, when we talk about our polity, then definitely, we have opted for representative, right, democracy. And when we talk about representative democracy, basically, democracy means by the people, for the people, and of the people. So definitely, it is by the people, for the people, and of the people, no doubt about it. However, the problem is that we have a huge population, so we cannot call all our 1.4 billion people to sit at one place and decide. That's why we, the people of India, elect or nominate our representatives. So we do it by election or nomination. So we'll see that process also. But when we elect or nominate, there has to have some criteria. Like in your regular classes, you might have studied about while making of our constitution, we had decided to have a body that was known as Constituent Assembly, right? So Constituent Assembly was the body which was responsible for making the Constitution of India, right? But how this Constituent Assembly was constituted or established? So obviously we brought the members definitely from India only, but through what? Through the process of election or at some places through nomination. But whenever we elect some people or nominate some people, obviously Constituent Assembly had a limited strength, let's say close to 400, or we can say there were 389 members. But these 400 members were representing the population approximately, which was 35 to 40 crores, or we can say around 350 to 400 million population. And the ratio we decided to keep that one person in the Constituent Assembly will represent around 1 million people. When we say 1 million, that means 10 lakh people. So roughly for 350 million, we have around 350 people. So population was between 350 to 400. That's why the Constituent Assembly strength was approximately 400, or we can say 389 to be exact. So this part you know. Now this series is a part of current affairs series also. So you can say we will discuss the recent issues as well, but probably we have to understand the basis as well, right? So what is the idea? Delimitation is nothing but it's a sort of an exercise which is conducted to redraw or limit or restructure the boundaries of what? A particular territory with respect to elections. Please remember, it is not with respect to the territory actually, right? Why? Because with respect to territory, if we do, then that would be called as reorganization of states. And reorganization of states and delimitation are two different things. Though after the reorganization, we may need to conduct delimitation, right? So until here, I hope you have understood that it is basically the representation on the basis of population. So we know that our constitution came into existence, on 26th of January 1950, right? And when we talk about this particular date, from here the constitutional provisions became active, though it came on 26th November 1949, but some provisions were applied from 26th January 1950. After that, since the parliamentary mechanism was set up, so the elections were held, and in 1952 we actually had our first Lok Sabha. Right, so elections were conducted and then we started functioning. So things went like that. But the point here is when we decided to go for the parliament, for which a brief discussion is given is in part 5 of the constitution, under Article 79 to 122. Article 79 to 122 deals with our legislature, right? So when we say legislature, it's a constitutional term. Otherwise, in common terminology, we call it parliament, right? So our parliament, when we decided to go with the parliament, we made it bicameral because we opted for some federal principle or union type of polity. So it has two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, right? Now these two houses will have composition of some members. So we can say the present strength, let's say 545 and 245. So in all, there are what 790 members or MPs, what we call 790 members of parliament, which are there in our parliament. But how these 790 members come to parliament? How this 545 members are elected in Lok Sabha and 245 in Rajya Sabha through direct and indirect election? That part, if we understand, then probably it would be easy for us to understand the delimitation part. Now, when we talk about the 545 members, what we do? Actually, we must know the concept of what? Constituency. So actually we draw the constituency, right? And for each member we have one constituency formula. So the whole country would be divided into number of constituencies. And since there are, let's say we need 545 or 2 are nominated, so 543 seats. So here the whole country would be divided into what? Different constituencies. Let's say C1, C2, C3 and so on up to C543, or let's assume that 545. So 545 constituencies would be there, and how the representation will take place? One member from each constituency, right? Though there is no restriction on contesting the election. Here 4 members also can contest, 5 can also contest, 10 can also contest, but only one would be elected on the basis of direct or indirect elections, right? So that is the idea. So these constituencies were what? Designed, and the basis for these constituencies were that each member, just like in Constituent Assembly, each member from each constituency will represent certain number of people from the population. And what was the principle enshrined? That by and large, all the constituencies, by and large, C1, C2, C3, C4, up to C40, 545, they will have what? More or less same number of people. That means if the population of, let's say, constituency is, one member is representing 10 lakh people, so by and large all the constituency will have 10 lakh people, approximately, plus or minus few people will do, but more or less they will have around the same population in all the 545 constituencies. But the problem is what? The problem is that our country, when we see India, then India is a union of states. So already we are divided into multiple states. So already we have a division of states, right? And we can say now we have 28 states. So let's say here we say S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, like that we have 28 states. And further, each state is divided into district. So we know that each corresponding states will have some districts. So already we have a division. That means if we try to simplify that, then we can say the whole country is divided into what? Districts. And since when we talk about the districts, that means roughly about 750 to 800 districts we have in India. So why did we don't choose the district itself as a constituency? Why we need another exercise to decide about the constituency? Because the problem is what? The problem is that population in each district varies, right? So when we talk about D1, D1 is not going to be equal to D2 or D3 in terms of population, because district is what? Administrative division, not a division based upon the population. So because it's an administrative division, the population is going to vary. And for constituency, what is the principle? C1, C2, C3, etc. must be equal in terms of population. They should not vary. That's why what we have to do in drawing the constituency, what happens? Sometimes there may be a constituency which is bigger than 2 or 3 districts, or there may be a district where suppose the district is very big, 40 lakh population. So each district we need 10 lakh. Each constituency we need 10 lakh only. So we'll divide into 4 constituencies. District is same, but here it will have 4 constituencies, C2, C3, C4 and so on. But if districts are small, then a single constituency, let's say this is the constituency, may have what? May have 2 or 3 districts, D1, D2, D3. Whole idea is the game of population, as simple as that, right? Because population is dynamic, it keeps changing, right? That's why it has been decided that what will keep the constituency by and large same throughout the territory of India, right? Now, I hope you understood the meaning of delimitation. So delimitation is nothing but what? Delimitation exercise is carried out to readjust the boundary of what? Readjust the boundary of constituencies or electoral constituencies, right? Not for changing or altering the boundary in realistic sense. That is done when we do the reorganization. That is Article 3 of the Constitution deals with that. So here it's a readjustment of constituencies. Now, is there any constitutional provision for the same? That do we have? Yes. See, as I've told you, election related and parliament related things are given in part 5 of the Constitution, which is from 79 to 122. And out of this, when we look into the article, what, 81 and 82, they basically talks about what? The provision for delimitation, not directly but indirectly, because here they talks about what? Allocation of seats. So when we talk about allocation of seats, obviously the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha will have the corresponding number of seats from particular states, and then probably 82 talks about readjustment part, because as and when the population will increase, we need to readjust the boundary. So from here, or in short, you can say Article 81 and 82 is responsible for what? The exercise of delimitation. Right. So this is the first part when we talk about delimitation part. I hope up to here the things are clear to you, that what is readjustment, what is delimitation, and what are the constitutional provisions for this particular thing. Okay, now coming back further. So since the readjustment of the seats are depending upon the what population, and how we actually get to know about our population. So we get to know about our population on the basis of what? An exercise which is conducted by the union government known as census. So we know that we follow the principle of decadal census. That means once in 10 years, right? Though we know that census in India started in the pre-independence era, especially from 1872, the British started conducting the census, but from 1881, the regular census were conducted. So let's say this is census 1, census 2, and so on. Not much important for us, but after independence, let's say the census was conducted in 1951, 1961, 1971, and so on. So it's a decadal exercise. Once in a decade, we'll get to know that what are the population increase. Right, so we don't need to worry about it. We already get the data after the census is completed. Now, the problem is what? When the census is completed, then after each census, we must conduct the delimitation exercise. And why this? Because this is the provision given in the Constitution as per Article 81 and 82. Right. So readjustment has to be done, delimitation has to be carried out, and this is the constitutional obligation, so government has to follow this. However, when we started, then what? As I told you, delimitation exercise has to be conducted after every census. That means after every 10 years, 51, 61, 71, and so on. So we started well, no doubt about it. We started in, let's say, 1951, then 1961, then 1971, 1981, 1991, 2001, 2011, and we can say 2021. So ideally speaking, there has to have what? 8 delimitations done so far. But what happened? For 51 census, we had a delimitation, let's say for example D1, which was conducted in 1952. For 61, we had a delimitation, let's say D2 in 1960, because data comes a year later, right? It takes time. For 71 also, we had D3. But for 81, for 91, we do not have D4, D5. Rather, in 2001, we conducted the D4. Then again, in 2011, we did not have the delimitation. And for 21 also, we have not done it yet. So, out of 8 decadal census, we have conducted only 4 delimitation exercises. Why so? For this, we need to understand certain reasons, certain points, and that will help us in understanding this topic in a better way, right? So, since it's a constitutional obligation, so obviously we have to go ahead with the exercise, right? But why we have dropped in 81 and why we have dropped in 91, we need to explore the reasons for the same, right? Let's see why. Now, here if you see the political developments, right, then there is a paradigm shift in the country's government, we can say, or governance, because here when we talk about, mainly it was a Nehruvian era. That is, Prime Minister Nehru was there. Then for a short duration, Mr. Shastri came into power, and then basically the Gandhian era started, or we can say Indira Gandhi became the Prime Minister. Right. So I'm giving you the political perspective also because it would be very easy for you to connect, and especially for the 71 census and 81 census, both the time Mrs. Gandhi was the Prime Minister. For 91, we had we can say a transitional government after Rajiv Gandhi, then VP Singh Sahab, and so on. In 2000, it was a Vajpayee Sahab government, and then 11 Manmohan Singh Sahab government, and 21 we have Narendra Modi Sahab government. So basically, here we'll see the transition. Now, when Mrs. Gandhi came into power, right? So if you look into it, being a female, it was very difficult for her to establish herself as a prime minister and as a leader of the country. But somehow she managed, though initial setbacks were there. Like she decided to go ahead with some policies. For example, nationalization of bank was the one policy which she started to launch. Population control was the another aspect she decided to undertake. Abolition of privy purses and so on. But all these policies resulted in a failure, right? And people were not willing to accept it. So out of that, the population was one of the important aspects. However, when she actually decided to go for population control, it was opposed by the people on the grounds of what? Violation of human rights, because she decided to go with the forced sterilization campaign, right? So forcefully, she decided to sterilize the people, especially in their productive age, which did not went well with the people. Her intention was okay, that she wanted to control the population because it was a burden, and we were primarily an agrarian economy, so it was difficult to feed the people. Plus, we were also struggling with lots of famines, droughts, and back-to-back wars were going on. So obviously, resource crunch was there, no doubt about it. So as a prime minister, her intention were not wrong, but the way she decided to implement that policy was somewhat like a forced sterilization and all went against the human rights thing, and people started protesting. So what I'm telling you that just keep this issue in the background. It will help you to understand how the things went on, right? Then, if we go through the decadal count, 51, 61, 71 census, then we'll see you might have studied also that 71 census was considered to be the year of population explosion. All of a sudden, the growth rate of the population had increased manifold and reached approximately 20% or 19 point some percent as far as the decadal growth rate was concerned. So, government were worried about this particular thing. So, population control was one of the policy of Mrs. Gandhi, which she thought that people will appreciate, but it was resulted in a repercussion, or we can say reciprocated in a negative manner, right? Though this issue was there. Now, this was the one issue. What was the second problem? The second problem was there was a rift or conflict between the northern and the southern states. So this was the another reason which we'll discuss in elaborate manner. So when we talk about the northern states and southern states, and if we go for dividing them, on a cultural lines. So though this is not a practical division, just we are, for example, say we are saying when the government decided to go for population control, definitely population control measures or population control policies, then it was the southern states which actually decided to reduce the population. So they decided to reduce the population on their own. Maybe you can say the reasons might be literacy and all those things, but reverse was happening in the northern states. The northern states were kept on, increasing the population. So population was increasing in the northern states and decreasing in the southern states, and the data also support the same. Now, the southern states have raised the issue, right? They have raised the, concern to the government that we are reducing. Let's say southern states, when we talk about, we are reducing the population, right? We are going ahead with your population control policy, but for reduction, rather than getting the incentive or award, we are being punished. And where in northern states, which are increasing the population, right, they are being rewarded. So government was slightly confused and asked how. So they said that since population is the basis of getting the representation, right, because population is the basis of getting the representation where getting the representation in elected bodies like Lok Sabha, Legislative Assembly, and so on. So there, the states which have more population, for example, the state of Uttar Pradesh, having a population of around 25 CR, right, will definitely have more Lok Sabha seat, approximately 80 seats, right. Similarly, the states like Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, which have lesser population, let's say 6 to 8 crores, they will have obviously lesser seats. So the states which are reducing the population, they are getting lesser seats, and the states which are increasing the population, they are getting more representation. Are you getting it? Yes or no? Right? Because when we talk about what? The census. Here you need to understand that when we started with 1951 census, we started with 490 plus seats in Lok Sabha. Then 1961 seats, we went up to 520 plus seats. Then in 1971 census, or after that, we made it 543 seats. So you see, continuously we are increasing, right? And government was worried. So where this increased seats were going? These were going to those states which were actually increasing the population. So it was a reward kind of thing for the states which are increasing the population, and it was a punitive thing, punishment kind of thing for the states which were going for family planning or population control policy. So government also thought of this. And then what government decided? Government decided that the idea to get rid of this problem is nothing but to freeze. Now what to freeze? Can they freeze the population? No, not at all, because natural growth is there. So only option they have is freeze the seats. And they decided to freeze the seats, right? For what? For the popular houses like Lok Sabha, or Rajya Sabha, or Legislative Assembly, or Legislative Council, right? So that people should not feel incentivized that if we increase the population, we'll get more number of seats. But to freeze the seats, what we have to do? Obviously, we cannot do it like that. We need to bring an amendment in the constitution. So that's why the government proposed an amendment in the constitution, and that famous amendment is known as 42nd Amendment Act. And what happened in 42nd Amendment Act? So 42nd Amendment Act was carried out in 1976, right? Where government decided not to increase the seat at any cost, as far as the population is concerned. So that's why I said in 71 there was a delimitation exercise. Third, seats were increased, no doubt about it. But in 76, the government decided to freeze the seats for next 25 years. And this freeze is going to be applicable till 2001. 76 plus 25, so 2001. And now, whatever the population increases or decreases in any of the state, that will not change the total number of seats in the representative bodies for another 25 years. This has been done. So that's why there was no need to conduct the delimitation exercise in 1981 and 1991. That's why, see, what? Here, delimitation exercise was there in 51, 61, 71, but not in 81 and 91. So why there was a need in 2001, right? So why there was a need? Because here you can see this freeze is going to get over in 2001, right? But when the year 2001 came in 2001, there was a delimitation, no doubt about it. So after the 2001 census, the delimitation exercise, that is, we can say D4, was conducted in 2002. But again what? This delimitation was not to readjust the seats. No, it was not to readjust the seats, because what government did in 2001 itself, they have introduced another amendment known as 84th Amendment Act. So 84th Amendment Act was done in 2001. Initially was 42nd, this is the 84th Amendment Act, and for that what they did, they actually extended the freeze, right? For what? Another 25 years. So another 25 years means from 2001 to 2000 plus 25, that means that freeze is going to get over in 2026, right? So till 2026, the readjustments of seats are what? Blocked or freezed, we can say. So what was the need for D4? See, the D4 was conducted because, try to understand this with an example, it would be easy for you to understand. The D4 was conducted because when we talk about, let's say, Lok Sabha or any state legislature, here we have 545 seats, and for that we have divided the whole country into different constituencies. So C1, C2, C3, and let's say we have C545. Now the problem is what? The problem is that we did not conducted the delimitation in 1981 and 1991. 2001, the population which was there in C1, C2, in 1971 basis population, we had, let's say, kept 10 lakh each. So for example, in a territory, right, let's say we have 4 constituencies, C1, C2, C3, C4. And as per census of 1971, we tried to make it uniform, 10 lakh, 10 lakh, 10 lakh, C1, C2, C3, C4, right? But when the population increase came in, what we found in 2001? In 2001, we found that population will never increase uniformly, no, as per the constituency. The population of this particular constituency, let's say, become 20 lakh. Here the population became 30 lakh. Here the population, let's say, became 40 lakh. Here the population became, let's say, 50 lakh. For example, I am saying. So population was what? Not increasing uniformly. Now, a voter or a representative, let's say elector, MP is representing 10 lakh people in C1, but another MP is representing 30 lakh people in C2. This should not happen. So what 2001 delimitation did, that they did not change the number of constituencies. It is same. But now total population is what? 30 plus 20, 50 plus 40, 90 plus 50, 140. Right? 140 lakh. This 140 lakh is again going to be divided into 4 constituencies. Right? So roughly about what? Each constituency will have now 35 lakh population. 35 lakh each. Something like that has been done. So redrawing of the constituency took place, no doubt about it, but the total number of constituencies were kept same. This was done in the 4th delimitation exercise. So now I hope you clear that what? Here when we talk about the delimitation exercise, 2001 delimitation was done, but not to readjust the seat, only to readjust the constituency based upon population, so that population can be uniform. For 2011 we haven't had, for 21 also we haven't had yet. Why we haven't had? Now you understood the reason also, that it is freezed up to what? 25 years. So from 2001 to 25 years, that means next is going to be in 2026. And this has been done what? Through 84th Amendment Act. So I hope till here the things are clear. Yes, perfect. Now we are very close to 2026, as we are now in 25. Next year we are going to have 2026 also, no doubt about it. So is delimitation exercise is going to be conducted in 2026 or not? Right, that part we have to understand. So we know that what our Article 82 says, that the delimitation exercise has to be conducted what? After the census which was conducted at the earliest. So the earliest census for 2026 is what? 21, and the next census would be in 2031. So what is the option government have? Will the government will take the data from 2021 or 2026 delimitation, or the government will wait for 2031 census and again they will carry the delimitation exercise, let's say D5. So whether D5 will be conducted in 2026, D5 will be conducted in 2031, or we will, third option also, that we will freeze it for another 25 years. So in 2026 there may be an amendment where we can say again we'll freeze this up to 2051. So this could be the another option. What exactly government is going to do, that is what we need to understand. So looking at the developments and the protest, what do you think? Can you make a guess what will happen? Right. So to make that guess, let's try to see some developments which took place over a period of time. Now, first and foremost thing, when we talk about the 2021 census, I hope you all know that what the data for 2021 census is yet to be published, or it is not completed yet because of COVID factor. And then in 2022 also, 2023 also, 2024 also, and 25 is about to pass. Government is not yet ready with that. Rather, there is an announcement where the it would be finalized by March 2027. That is next to next year. So already it has been announced that the data would be available, or the delimitation, that is D5, would be most likely conducted in March 2027. That means by the end of 2026 we'll have the data. That is what we are thinking. But what are the other factors which are supporting? Like for example, you might have heard about the women reservation bill. So when we talk about women reservation bill, now it is an act. Government has already passed that bill, but problem is that this is yet to come into effect. So with effect from, it has not been implemented. It has been passed as an act, but still it is failing. When it is going to be implemented, the government is saying that the delimitation would be carried out, then only we will be in a position to, because this act deals with reservation of seats for women. And until as we do not finalize the seats on the basis of new population data, we would not be able to give them the reservation. So it is also on hold. That is the first thing. Next thing is, we all know that we have a new parliament building, or you might have heard about something called Project Vista. So what is Project Vista? Project Vista is nothing but a new parliament building, what we call popularly. Now, new parliament building had increased number of seats in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So present strength of 545 is almost double, close to 900 we can say, or 882. Similarly, in Rajya Sabha also 245 is close to 500 approximately. So why there is an increase of seat in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha? That is the one thing, right? There has to have some rationale. That means government is almost sure that delimitation is going to be carried at the earliest, and after the delimitation there is a huge rise in population from 71 to 2021. So obviously we need more representatives when the readjustment of seat will take place. That's why already we are in a preparation that the new Lok Sabha which will come, they should have the accommodation or sitting capacity of at least almost double the numbers, right? Because population might have increased twofold to threefold. So Project Vista is also supporting that delimitation is something which is going to come very soon. Then after that, you all know that we had done a lot of what? Reorganization of the states also. Like very recently you might be aware about the issues which are going in Ladakh. But prior to that, we also had done J&K reorganization. Prior to that, we have reorganized the Andhra Pradesh into Telangana and Andhra. Then prior to that, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Bihar was also reorganized. Especially if you see this reorganization, these are the one which took place in the 21st century, that is 2001 onwards, right? Plus we have merged some union territories as well, Dadar, Nagar Haveli and so on. So all these reorganized states, either they had been created into states or union territories, right? For them also, this particular delimitation exercise is very, very important, right? So by all this discussion, what is the kind of conclusion we are reaching? That delimitation is going to take place at the earliest, and as government is saying that it would be most likely in the first quarter of March, so first quarter of 2027, that is, you can say around Feb or March, the delimitation will take place. So I hope you got a holistic view as far as delimitation is concerned. Now There are some challenges, issues, or criticism also associated with delimitation. What are they? Let's try to see. So basically, as I've told you, from day one, you can see the conflict, right? Between what? Between two types of states. One, let's say X type of states, and second, let's say Y type of states. So what are the X type of states? X type of states are the one which are actually following the national population policy and they are reducing the population. Y type of states which are actually increasing the population, right? So when we talk about X and Y types of states, what we can say? Most of the southern and the northeastern states are included in this type. Most of the northern states, so and some central states are included in this type. So there is a conflict. Plus, there is also a conflict between Hindi and non-Hindi speaking areas. Because when we talk about Hindi and non-Hindi speaking belt, then probably in Hindi speaking areas, the population growth is very dramatic, very high compared to non-Hindi speaking states. Right. So that is another problem. Plus, the reorganization is due, readjustment of seat is due not only for the Lok Sabha but also for the state assemblies. So, what? State assemblies are also saying that if you're not reorganizing the states for seats for Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, at least do it for the state assembly. It is not going to hamper. So, these are some of the challenges which are posed as far as the conflict related with reorganization is concerned. Now, let's try to understand this conflict also, which will help us in writing a good answer in our mains. So, as I've told you, the protest from X side states and Y side states, how it is related with this particular thing. In the beginning only I have told you that the southern states are protesting that we are reducing the population, yet we are what? Punished, and those states which are increasing the population, they are incentivized. So the problem is what? The problem is for the delimitation, right? Exercise, what could be the probable option? First, the first option is let the delimitation be there. That means carry out or go ahead with the delimitation. So obviously it has to happen. Go ahead with the delimitation. And when we go ahead with the delimitation, what will happen? Right. So if we carry out the delimitation, then all those things will get fulfilled. There would be readjustment of seats, right? No doubt about it. So readjustment of the seats will take place in Lok Sabha also, in Rajya Sabha also, in States Assembly, that is Vidhan Sabha, Vidhan Parishad, and so on. Everywhere this thing will happen. But what is the problem? The problem is that what will be the scale of it? Like for example, if we talk about the delimitation exercise, then as I've told you, started with 1951. So when we actually started with 1951, do you know the representation? The representation of one MP, member of parliament, was close to 7,50,000 people, right, per person. But when we came to 1971, this ratio became what? 10 lakh. And obviously we know that after that we have freezed. So this ratio is still there. But the population of 71 and population of 2021 is, there is a huge difference. So here if we see, we have freezed the seats to 545 or 543 because two are nominated. The moment we are going to open it in 2021, right, then can you imagine what would be the number of seats required in Lok Sabha? Yes, roughly speaking, we need more than 1850 plus seats in Lok Sabha. And the new parliament, the Vista, what we have made, it has only 900 seats. So again, this would be a dilemma. This would be a challenge. This would be a sort of issue which needs to be addressed. That how we are going to tackle this particular issue. Because population, obviously, in some states the population increased more than 300%. In some states, it has gone to 50 to 60% increase in the last, we can say, 60 years or so, 40 years or so. Right? So we have to understand this particular thing. Why? Because if you go with that, then what will happen? Some states are reducing the population and some states are increasing the population. There would be a problem of federal balance. And what will happen? it will give rise to a asymmetrical federation, right? So it is related with what? Federalism as well. And I hope you have studied about federalism in your polity classes. So this could be the one issue which is going to give birth to this kind of problem, right? What could be the second alternate then? Second alternate, as I've told you, that again freeze the seats. So freezing of seats can be continued, right? For that, what we need? We need to actually go ahead with one more amendment, and let's do that amendment in 2026 and freeze the seats for another 25 years, because the previous freeze is getting over in 2026. So again amend it and continue it for 20-25 years. That means the next delimitation can take place in 2051 or after the census data of 2051 is published, then the readjustment of seats should take place, right? So we can do that as well, but what is the problem, right? Is it going to be in a democratic spirit or against democratic spirit? That is the problem we need to look into, because as I told you, if you are going to freeze this further, what happened or what is happening in some constituency? Again, the people are one representative is representing X number of people in one particular state, and other representative is Y number of represented in another state, and there is a huge, disuniformity as far as representation is concerned. So, one person, one vote, one nation kind of thing are getting hampered as far as this option is concerned, but this can be exercised. Some of the states like states of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, they have recommended that we can go for this formula also, that don't increase the seats, only readjust the constituency and let's keep the seat as it is. So it will end the issue. Is that clear? Okay. What is the third solution? Third solution is saying that don't freeze all the seats. Freeze only the Lok Sabha seats. Right? So Lok Sabha seats must be freezed, but the Vidhan Sabha, that is Legislative Assembly seats, they must be readjusted as per the census data. Right? And as far as the Rajya Sabha is concerned, Rajya Sabha should be made population free kind of representation, or there should not be the population as a basis for representation in Rajya Sabha. What this is saying. See, if we freeze the seats in Lok Sabha, it will remain 543. No doubt about it. So irrespective of increase in the population, no incentive for the states which are increasing or no punishment for the states which are decreasing. So we can freeze it for let's say 25 years. Right? But for a legislative assembly, let's say for example, state of Uttar Pradesh. Another, we can take the example of state of Karnataka. Now, UP, let's say for example, have 400 plus seats in Vidhan Sabha. Karnataka have 220 seats or plus seats, we can say 200 plus seats. Now, if population in UP has increased manifold and UP government want or UP state want to make it 800 seats, almost double, 800 plus, or Karnataka government want it to be 400 plus, what is the problem? Neither the UP will have a problem with Karnataka or nor the Karnataka will have the problem with UP. For what? They are increasing their seats. Who cares? We don't mind about it. आपको अपने स्टेट का जितना increase करना है, you can do it. So, legislative assembly seats can be readjusted, but Lok Sabha seats must be freezed. And for Rajya Sabha, what can be done? Rajya Sabha is what? It's a council of states. Here we have the representation of states. And when we say representation of states, that means what? All the states are equal as far as the federal principle is concerned. So we can follow the principle of federal countries like United States of America. Now in US, what we have? Congress, right? And when we talk about Congress, basically it's a House of Representatives and Senate. Now House of Representatives like what? Our Lok Sabha, but Senate is like our Rajya Sabha. And how they have maintained? In Senate, they have 2 seats. How many seats? 2 seats for all the states, irrespective of their population. So 51 states are there in USA, and every state will have 2 seats. We can do the same. So irrespective of, like for example, Uttar Pradesh have 31 seats in Rajya Sabha. Sikkim had only 1, Goa had only 1, northeastern states have only 1. Rather than that, let's say we can fix the Council of State, that is Rajya Sabha seats fixed. Let's say we have 28 seats. So for example, I'm saying let's make 280 seats of Rajya Sabha and 10 seats each should be given to all the states. This could also be a solution irrespective of the population of the state. So this could be another thing what can be done as far as what? Freezing the Lok Sabha seats, allowing the Legislative Assembly seats to be readjusted, and making the Rajya Sabha seats not on the basis of population but giving a fixed number of seats to each of the states because they are the council of states, or we can say the states are represented in Rajya Sabha. It will be in a true federal what spirit. Is that clear? Perfect. What could be the fourth solution for this? Fourth solution could be what? No delimitation. It's enough now. High time now. We should not go with delimitation. So if we say no delimitation, what does it mean? If we go for no delimitation, what will happen? See, first we have to understand if we go for delimitation, what will happen. So I said the seats may shoot up from 545 to 1850 plus. If actually we go for readjustment of seats, this is a possibility, right? That from present 543 seats in Lok Sabha to 1850 seats, if we take 2031 census into count, itna zyada ho jayega. But what is the utility? Let's say in Parliament we have 543 MPs. Tomorrow we may have 1800 MPs. Okay. Or state assembly like UP have 400 seats, we may have 1000 seats. But will it help in what? Improvising the functioning of the legislature or functioning of the parliament or functioning of the legislative assembly? Is it going to help in any way? Right? If yes, go for it. But if not, then there is no need of delimitation because it will have some disadvantage. If we talk about this increase, what will happen? It will be a burden to the exchequer of the country. Why? More number of MPs, right? That means what? More number of perks, privileges, allowances. All these things will go now, and ultimately, the debates, discussions, and all those things become all the more chaotic. We see all the sort of Mela, Ram Leela, etc. in our parliament. If there are 2000 members in the parliament, you can imagine what will happen. The cash for vote, horse trading, the purchase and sale of MPs, and so on. Or contesting the election, a lot of expenses will be required, more number of constituencies would be done. So our taxpayers' money would what? Be involved in this particular. There is a condition. If this 850 members can guarantee that there would be improvised legislative functions, they would be able to make a better laws for us. There would be proper coordination and harmony in policy formulation and implementation. Then it's open. But if not, then delimitation exercise doesn't sounds to be very fruitful as far as the amount of costing is involved in this. So this could be one idea, right? Or another option could be what? Let's say, for example, fifth way outcome that we should do the delimitation. That means delimitation must be done. But there must be a threshold or there must be a what? Limit. And what kind of limit? Lower limit should be kept as a role model. I mean, this was proposed by some southern states, especially states like Kerala, that when we talk about the population growth, right? So I said some states registered 50%, 60%, 70% population growth rate. Some have achieved 100%, 200%, 300% growth rate. So rather than going for 100, 200, 300%, let's go for lower growth rate of the population. So for example, let's say, right, Kerala had achieved a population growth rate of around 65% plus, right? So we can keep a benchmark that the number of seats in the Lok Sabha will be increased by what? 65% only, irrespective of the fact that Uttar Pradesh might have registered a growth rate of 300%, but they will get only what share in the 65%. So that could be also a formula which can be applied, but we are not sure that what will happen. So these are 4-5 solutions also, way forward also, which we can quote as far as the question in the exam is concerned. I hope it's clear. Yes. Okay. Now, The most likelihood scenario is what? The most likelihood scenario is, as per the communication received or the news and other media channels showing, that we will have a delimitation exercise, right, in the beginning of 2027 or March 2027, right. So let's say delimitation exercise is conducted in March. Now the problem is that if they gave any of the solutions what we discussed, solution number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Obviously, there are going to be some states or some representatives which are going to question this. Now, the big question is, can the decision of the delimitation is liable to be challenged in the court of law? Can it be challenged in the court of law? Or can the matter would be brought before the court? So, for this, we need to understand that whenever we talk about the delimitation exercise, as I told you, for carrying out the delimitation exercise, the first and foremost thing is what? There has to be a delimitation act. And that's why the constitution has empowered the parliament, right, of India to pass the delimitation act. So that's why they will pass the delimitation act. Once the delimitation act is passed, then what happens? Then the power goes to a constitutional body known as Election Commission of India, right. Now, when we talk about Election Commission of India, under the provisions of Article 324 to 329, they are empowered to constitute a body known as commission, and that commission is known as Delimitation Commission, right. So, Delimitation Commission basically functions under the overall guidance and supervision of Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India get the power from this particular act. The act is being passed by Parliament. The Parliament get the power from the Constitution. This is the sequence. But what is the dilemma? Dilemma is whatever the decision of Delimitation Commission would be there, right, that is not supposed to be challenged in any court of law. इसको कहीं भी challenge नहीं कर सकते. That means the decision would be final and binding. यानी किसी भी कोर्ट में हम इसको challenge नहीं कर सकते. But अगर dispute होगा, suppose after the solutions there are some dispute may be between what? Center or state or between states. So we all know that there is an original jurisdiction with the Supreme Court where Supreme Court can look into the federal disputes. So that one option is open. However, second option. What is the second option? Suppose the matter is brought before the Supreme Court. Obviously, it will not go to the High Court because it's a federal matter. So let's say the matter brought before Supreme Court. So first, with the power of original jurisdiction, Supreme Court can look into the matter. Original jurisdiction. But we know that there are certain matters which are debarred in original jurisdiction. If you read about original jurisdiction in your polity classes, you might have read about it. Then we know that there are some exceptions. Like the best example is interstate river water dispute. I hope you might have heard about it. So the matters which are related with interstate river water dispute cannot be challenged in Supreme Court, because for that the Parliament is empowered to constitute some tribunals and whose decisions are final and binding. So like that, Delimitation Commission also, whatever the issue will come, that will come with a federal nature. But that cannot be challenged because this is the exception to original jurisdiction. That means this power of Supreme Court will not apply. However, we all know that Supreme Court, and you all are aware about it, in a very famous case known as Keshwanand Bharti case of 1973, propounded a doctrine of basic structure. Right? I hope you remember. And when we talk about the basic structure doctrine, though they have not defined, but time to time they have told us what constitutes the basic structure, or what are the elements which are part of basic structure. Similarly, after that, in Minerva Mill case, which was of 1980, they had very clearly said that judicial review of any legislation is what? Is the part of basic structure. So with this doctrine, right, what Supreme Court can do? Supreme Court can actually use the power of judicial review over what? Over the decisions which are given by Delimitation Commission. So like that, the Delimitation Commission can be, or its decision can be challenged in the court of law. Yes or no? Any confusion? I hope you're understanding. See, what I'm doing is I'm taking this topic from the perspective of UPSC, the complete perspective. When we say complete perspective means no stone left unturned kind of thing. If any question comes, you must be in a position to write down the answer from prelims, from mains, from the interview perspective, right? Okay, just one information for PT. This you can supplement your whether the decision can be challenged or not. Plus, there is a case which is known as Krishna Kumar. You might have heard about this case, right? और alias किशोर चंद्र. सुना है तो ठीक है, नहीं सुना है तो बोल रहा. So Kishore Chandra Rathore versus Union of India. This is a recent case, 2024. Right. So obviously you'll mention about basic structure, that is Keshavan Bharti case, Minerva Mill case, and so on. But if you want, you can mention about the Kishore Chandra Rathore versus Union of India 2024 case, where Supreme Court has categorically said that the decision of delimitation commission is open for what? Judicial review. So you can quote this particular case also. So I hope now all the stuffs related with what? The delimitation, the provisions, the objectives, the constitutional aspects, challenges associated with it, the conflict associated with it, the solution provided to you, etc., is nothing but what? Clear to you? Yes or no? Perfect. So I think that's all we have from our side, and thank you so much for watching this particular video on the online portal of Ravi Pathak Academy. Looking forward to meet you again with some more hot topics or conceptual topics which are relevant from prelims, mains, and interview perspective, so that we should be able to provide you the best which is required for your exam. We are open for your feedback, comments, suggestions on this particular video and in the forthcoming video also, because based upon your comment, we'll be in a position to decide what should be the next type of topic we should discuss on this particular channel. So as we all know that Ravi Pathak Academy, the values, the mission of this particular academy is to provide affordable, sustainable and a quality education at a very, very low cost. Most of the programs we run is free of cost. Some of them are paid courses, right? But most of them are free. Those which are paid, they are also very affordable. That is the first thing. Second thing, we as a team is always available for you 24/7. We are just a call away, right? You can connect with me, with Rahul, with Rishabh, with Aniket for any of these are our team members for any of the queries concerned. On the links which are given below, you can follow us, you can subscribe us, and if you find that content is good, then you can share it with your friends and near ones so that they can also get the benefit, right? In the pop-up, you might be getting a number, so you can WhatsApp us, you can call us on that particular number for any sort of queries. And as far as the prelims and mains questions, practice questions are concerned, for that please follow our Telegram channel, the link for which is shared in the description box, and there we'll share you the PDF of PYQs also, that is previous year question paper, the practice MCQs, multiple choice questions, practice mains question, and last but not the least, the notes for this particular topic as well in the PDF form. So looking forward to see you again. Till then, take care, have a great day, and see you soon.